So, hello and welcome to my Cyberly Talks. I am Rishabh, your host, and today we have a very special guest with us, Mr. Deepam. He is an industry veteran in the field of cybersecurity and AI. Welcome, Deepam, to the show, and it's a pleasure to have you here. We will
Thank you.
be we will be talking about AI and cybersecurity today. And why don't you introduce yourself and share something interesting about your journey?
Sure. Thanks for having me here, Rishabh. Really excited to talk about the experiences that I've had. And I'll give you a promise. I'll try to keep jargons to the minimum and then insights to the maximum. For my introduction, right? So my name's Deepam Kanjani. I started off my career as a web developer, and since then, I think wore many hats, from cloud to data to product security, and most recently, it has been diving into the fascinating world of AI security. Transitioned my way from securing web forms to threat modeling large language models. So it's fancy how the world has evolved, and there's a kicker to it, right? I think everybody that I talk to says that security is very abstract, but I actually kind of put it up as a perception that security is as simple as relating it to your daily lives with things like, did you accidentally left your front door unlocked, is very similar to leaving an unauthenticated public S3 bucket. So it's just how you make sense, right? Whether you're building, breaking, or just curious about something.
That's really interesting. Thank you so much for sharing your journey. Okay, let's start. I see is everywhere, and these days we keep hearing buzzword like AI, data science, machine learning, deep learning,
Mhm.
LLM, and generative AI. For someone who is newcomer to this field, maybe it's a bit of mouthful. So, Deepam, can you break down these?
Sure. So let's take AI like an umbrella term, right? It's like a big boss of the pizza parlor, right? And it covers everything related to machines that usually require human intelligence, from things like recognizing patterns, making decisions, or even detecting if you're about to overheat the pizza dough, right? And then the terms that you spoke about, let's take terms one by one. So, like machine learning is a subset of AI which focuses on algorithms that learn from the data. Right. So I will look at, say, 100,000 pizzas being made over time, and I'll learn how to really make a pizza. And there's deep learning, which is a fancy subset of ML, where you use neural networks, which is loosely inspired by how the human brain works. So it's like complex pizza layers. For instance, I would create a layer full of cheese, the other layer filled with sauces, and that's what makes the complex flavors really mouthful when you have one. Data science is where you're extracting insights out of this data, which could involve AI or ML, but it will also include things like statistical analysis or visualization. I'm sure you would have seen a lot of graphs these days which talk about how we have evolved or what the trend looks like and what the future beholds for us. And then comes the new buzzwords like generative AI, for instance. It's where you start talking about creating new content. Now, the question can be, what does really content mean in this context, right? So it's about text, images, videos. You would have seen these days people take their own images, put it onto generative AI bots, and then it creates an artistic representation of yourself. And it's how the industry is evolving by generating new content. And then large language models are very specific forms of generative AI where it specializes into generating human like content. So it's like a digital polyglot storyteller, right? So these concepts are more like concentric circles, which is AI is the large term, and then you have got several concepts within it. Hope that makes sense.
Right. Thanks for breaking it down.
Mhm.
So, Deepam, what are some technologies where AI is already getting used? This will maybe help our listener to understand what are the current capabilities of AI.
Oh yeah. So I think it's about where do I even start with, because AI is working in the backstage of our lives in so many parts, and we maybe know about it, maybe we don't know about it. But to give you a few examples, uh, digital maps, for instance, when you take the car out today, the car or the digital map actually tells you which way to take. By that, you can avoid the toll or reach to your destination faster. Is predicting routing and traffic, right? Or streaming recommendations. You open up a new OTT and you will see that your favorite show is spot on the top. It's very suspicious when I see something like that, but it's because AI is analyzing my taste. Or smart home devices. It would dim the light, it would change the temperature of the air conditioner, or even for that matter, autonomous vehicles where we talk about self-driving cars. Or here's a fun fact, right? Let's say you go on a trip to Thailand and you're not a native Thai speaker. And you see the menu and you're like, I want to taste something. And you don't know about it. So what do? The first thing is you take out your phone, you click a picture, and then you send it to a translation tool. And that translation tool automatically gives you insights by breaking barriers, right? So all that is AI, right? It's basically AI being quietly present everywhere. It's like that friend who shows up to every party, sits in the corner until and unless somebody is like, come to the center stage, I want to talk to you. So that's how AI is listening to everything that you do, making the world better for you.
Great. And is there any historical event or major milestone that shows how technological advancement have basically propelled, AI forward?
So AI, when we go into history, it becomes usually very, very complicated, but it has been like an epic saga of things, right? From the time when Charles Babbage introduced programmable machines, it was a hint towards how we can evolve to making computational engines. And it was back in 1800s when this happened. And then Alan Turing's example on what the theoretical work that he did that spoke about how machine intelligence can be brought into picture. And then we evolved very, very fast, right? Then we started making rule-based engines. These rule-based engines were somewhere introduced in mid 1900s, where we started making chatbots, or it was more like how can we evolve to being more enterprise-ready, consumable systems, right? And then there was an evolution in late 1990s. I remember when uh, the board games that we have, things like Snake and Ladder or chess, uh, AI-based systems started defending human champions in these games, right? Because they were able to predict moves. And then in 2000s, deep learning research started showing really, really promising results. And then now, where we stand today, which is where generative AI has soared on its popularity, right? It writes articles, it creates images. Sometimes it's even scary because the conversations which you have with generative AI today are scarily more human than humans themselves, right? So, from mechanical contraptions to neural networks, AI's history has been I would say humbling and mind blowing at the same time, right? So that's how I feel about it.
Great. So you have basically amazed us with, the past and present of AI. Where do you see it going next?
So I think it's an interesting perspective. Like now that you're talking about it, Rishabh, let's kind of break this down into evolution, right? So specialized tasks like playing chess or giving a recommendation, as like I was talking about, on what show should you see or what movie should you see, is very, very narrow, right? And the way to coin this is called as artificial narrow intelligence, ANI, right? And then we started talking about a system which is capable of understanding and learning any intellectual task which a human can do. That is called artificial generative intelligence. Like you would have seen people wearing smart glasses these days. And then the glass is learning while you're walking on the road and it's telling you, take a left, take a right, this road is not good for you, or things like that, right? It has made life so much more easier while it is being in research, right? And this is where we evolve into, which is ASI, which is artificial super intelligence. And this is where, in a hypothetical day, AI would surpass human intelligence. And that's where possibly it would change the ways of the world, right? In unimaginable ways. In near term, you can expect AI to deeply get integrated into fields like finance, banking systems, right? Or healthcare, where certain AI systems can predict cancer or can tell you things like what can be the right course of treatment that you can take. Or it can tell you logistically how far is a destination, what is the most convenient way. So it's giving you like a personalized medicine, and then it's also helping you fix some of the larger issues with respect to real-time global supply chain. And it can even, the world can be as simple as I walk into a pizza parlor, it clicks a picture of me, and it can tell me this is what Deepam's going to like. So let's make a pizza according to him, right? So that's like utmost personalization that you can go into.
Great, great. So that's really fascinating. Let's shift our gear to
Uh-huh.
cybersecurity. Let's talk about AI and cybersecurity. How basically AI and cybersecurity are connected.
So now that you bring in the fun topics, because these are the ones where people usually get scared, right? AI and cybersecurity are like watchful owls protecting a digital forest. On one hand, AI is helping you defend and spot unusual patterns, things like network traffic, for example, or recognizing anomalies that can indicate that you need to take an action, right? On the other hand, AI itself also needs protection. Right now, if the attackers are able to manipulate AI systems, the system will start giving false predictions, and that can have malicious outcomes. So, how everybody talks about it these days is basically broken into two large verticals: AI for cybersecurity and cybersecurity for AI. So when we say AI for cybersecurity, we talk about bringing in automated threat detection, faster incident response, predictive analysis of vulnerabilities, AI threat modeling, and whatnot. And when we talk about cybersecurity for AI, we are talking about safeguarding the data that we're going to use for AI, or ensuring that the models aren't being tampered or tricked with to misclassify, or even to certain extent, how can we avoid hallucinations by these models, right? So that's where you're trying to protect the system underneath, which is helping you. This is a little bit tricky now because slowly as we're evolving, our reliance on AI is becoming more and more. So we need to make sure that these systems also are secure in a way, right?
So is AI safe, or are we creating some kind of potential threat? If you can shed some more light basically about cybersecurity concerns of AI, that
Sure.
would,
So
I guess, bring more clarity.
I would say it's a very fair concern. I mean, I think you are not alone when you say that I'm worried about what the future stands, right? So you don't want an AI fridge to someday randomly tell you that you should live on broccoli alone because your health reports indicate that you should eat broccoli, for instance, right? At least I wouldn't want that to happen. Now, when I say that, there are also certain risks as a security architect that come into my mind. Things like data poisoning. Like, for instance, if AI is constantly fed with bad data, it is learning harmful and incorrect behavior. Like, if I talk about model theft, where cybersecurity engineers who are trying to safeguard the systems start focusing their attention on cyber criminals who reverse engineer these AI models, and they try to make it bad, right? Or generative AI misuse, where you're creating fake but very convincing documents for things like insurance frauds or for creating deep fakes or stuff like that, right? It also has a very unique uh, perspective, which is ethical and bias issues. Now, if let's say I am training an AI system to constantly keep saying that a political opinion is correct and assume if the AI system starts taking that as a truth, then if the next person who is not aware of all the concrete facts around will start believing this to be a reality. Now, in my perspective, if I had to address this, I would talk about responsible AI. And when I would talk about responsible AI, let's introduce a new jargon. I promise that I'll keep jargons to the minimum, but let's do one. Let's call it as facts, FATS. Now, every AI system should be fair, should be accountable, should be transparent, and should be safe. As simple as that, right? Now, what that means is AI must be able to avoid bias and discrimination, that is being fair. AI should be accountable. What it means is that if AI makes a mistake, we know who should fix it. It should be transparent so that the decision making is not so complex that you have to now say that I cannot explain you how did AI make that decision. And it should be safe. So it should not cause unintended harm to anybody. So the threat is real. It's not like there's no threat around it. But trust me when I say this, that there are efforts to mitigate this threat as well. People are actively working on how can they reduce this risk.
So, like you mentioned, AI should be, accountable. So, suppose if AI is making some mistake, who will be accountable? Like, for example, Chat GPT is someone, people can relate easily. If
Mhm,
Chat
mhm.
GPT is giving some wrong information or, making some mistake, who will be accountable? Or Tesla, for that matter, if there's an accident, who
Mhm.
basically will be accountable? So, if you can.
And yeah, so that's where responsible AI practices come into perspective. Now, if we talk about, let's say, Chat GPT, OpenAI is building that model in such a way that they make it publicly available on what is the rationale behind predicting something. If ChatGPT is giving false results or incorrect results that need fine tuning or that need fixes in long term, then it is OpenAI's responsibility to kind of correct that. It is somewhere also a matter of accountability, which is where we start talking about originating agents, making sure that the consumers get the right information. In the same way, Tesla is responsible to make sure that while they are learning how the roads can be made much, much more uh, understandable for the autonomous vehicles to be able to drive, it is also their moral responsibility to make sure that they are able to leverage the technology better. I'll give you an example. Tesla recently did some research where they were using LiDAR sensors to see if the car can stop in case somebody comes in the front, if it is autonomously driving, of course. And they're trying to fine tune the results over time so that they can avoid accidents. Now, that is because it is their accountability at some point to make sure that these vehicles are safe enough for people to drive and they are safe enough for people to go consume. If not, it is going to have consequential effects. So when I say that the community needs to scale up in terms of responsible AI, what it really means is that the people who are building these AI systems for the betterment of the society or for profits whatsoever, they are also accountable to make sure that if the systems built by them are making mistakes, they are the ones who should be fixing it.
Okay, awesome, awesome insights. So now for $1 million question, what advice do you have for students and professionals who are aiming basically to make their career in AI or cybersecurity?
Oh, well, right. I think that's where a lot of people have questions because everybody wants to be on the bandwagon of AI, but they really are trying to understand how to navigate through this complex area. So I'll give you my advice, but I'll break it down into three large buckets. So the first is for the students who are seeking their jobs, right? Here's what I will tell you. Focus on basic fundamentals, things like maths, things like statistics, things like programming. When you learn these basics, it will take you long run to understand how is AI able to do things like sentence completion or how is AI able to predict something. This is one thing which I will say, irrespective of AI, experiment as much as you can. Your age in this state is to experiment and build whatever you want, however you want, and make these mini models and get feedback from your peers to learn how to make these more dynamic and useful. The community is available to help you as much as possible, right? Organizations like OpenAI, organizations like Google are spending millions of dollars, which actually contribute back to the community so that you can learn collaborate. So do that. There's a huge scope out there. I'm sure by the time you would really want to pick up a job in AI, there would be so much that would have been evolved from the time you're listening to this session. So you need to be updated all the time. This is the first bucket that I would keep into. Experiment, go big on experimentation. Second is working professionals who are looking to upskill. You should think of it like rather, I am doing good with my career, but what should I do next? Next big thing is where you should start focusing on how can I build skills around what is the upcoming trend. This is where specialized courses can help you. Now, these specialized courses need not have to be commercial in nature. And I know I'm going to take the heat of this in future, but I would say this like this. There are a lot of free courses which are available on the internet, which can be good to get you started, right? They can at least give you basic fundamentals of what is AI really, right? How can it help you transform your career? And I've got friends who are in the human resources departments, in the quality assurance departments, in the banking departments. The way they have explored and leveraged artificial intelligence is beyond what we could have even imagined 5 years ago. So it's very important that you keep yourself updated on the industry's trends. It's as fast as you get the best class food in your office cafeteria and it would get vanished even before you go to get the spoon from the cutlery drawer, right? So keep yourself updated as much as possible. Network with peers, people who are experts in the domain. There are online forums. I personally sometimes feel that Reddit is a great source. People do talk about so much stuff on Reddit, and there are so many things that are evolving. The countries, regulatory bodies are thinking about how should we adopt AI. So stay ahead of the curve. Know more about industry trends. There's a third bucket, which is for higher management and thought leaders. And this is where I think I usually would put my bet on. You should understand not just the tech, but the strategy. Think of it like how can AI solve organization challenges or create new opportunities for people? I think a lot of times people just think that AI is going to take away my job. Trust me, I feel it's not true. The reason why I don't feel it's true is because AI is going to create an evolution wave for you. At some point, I think when I used to write my homework papers or assignments, I never had the liberty of leveraging something like a Google. But today, when I look at kids, they are doing all their assignments built with ChatGPT and stuff like that. So there's an evolution wave. So you should champion a culture of creating continuous learning, encourage people in your companies and your organizations to be very, very agile, to invest in research, to be able to pilot projects that are there in the forefront, right? So whether you're picking up your first programming language or you're sitting in a boardroom and you're making decisions, just be curious and adapt as much as possible, right? So those are the three buckets. Experiment for the first, second is to learn, and third is to be agile as much as possible.
Amazing, amazing. So this have been a wonderful conversation, Deepam. Thank you
Mhm.
so much. Any final thought for our listeners?
Well, I started doing artificial intelligence even before it was called as artificial intelligence, right? I remember when I started building prototypes and I was doing things. I feel that today one of the biggest things that people are thinking of is how can they embrace AI. Here's a different thought to it. Sure, embrace AI, but always keep your critical thinking hat on, right? always think like adopting AI is like adopting a new puppy. You have to train it well. You have to keep its boundaries. You have to teach the puppy to do the right thing, right? And if you're using AI responsibly, it strengthens your day-to-day work life, your cybersecurity strategies. We can harness AI to the benefits beyond our imagination. It's going to be far more than the sci-fi dystopia that you've seen, right? Trust me, Terminator is going to come someday, but that Terminator is not going to be changing the world or killing or making the end of the world, right? It is more so to make the life more efficient, to make it more, adaptable in a way. So I would leave everyone with a final thought. Embrace AI as much as possible. Do things with AI so that AI becomes your friend. But at the same time, question everything that you see. So if AI tells you that it's day, don't just randomly go and believe that it's day. Start thinking about it. Is there a fact backing it? Is there an evidence to say that it is day? And then once you gain that confidence is where you would start trusting and building more responsible systems.
Right, and I believe that embracing AI is no longer a choice, it's a necessity for staying ahead in the evolving world of cybersecurity. And the future belongs to those who adapt, innovate, and leverage AI responsibly. And there is so much more to further discuss and explore, but to keep this video concise, let's wrap it up here. But we will continue this discussion in our upcoming session. Thank you again, Deepam, for sharing your valuable time and insights today. It's been a pleasure. And to our amazing listeners, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, drop a comment on what you would like to discuss next, and stay tuned. We will be back soon with more exciting content. See you next time.